Welcome to another exciting episode on the DDM.FM podcast. Today with me was amazing guest who has great experience with using data on the day-to-day basics, and it's a pleasure to have you, Mika, today with us. Can you walk us through your professional journey and basically who you are as a person using data in your work?
Hi, Lucas. Yeah, thank you for having me in your podcast. I'm Mika. I'm a CTO. Mostly been operating in startups for 10 years, about. And yeah, I'm software engineer for quite a while now. And yeah, basically, I manage teams and try to put together strategies that work for like new businesses, new ideas, and articulate all this together. So it's quite a challenging journey. We have lots
Mm-hmm.
of tools, lots of possibilities, and I'm happy to share here a few experience, a few things that happened down the way, and that I hope you'll enjoy hearing about.
Thank you so much. All right, let's dive deeper. On the DDM.FM podcast, we like to start by talking about the problems and the challenges before we jump into the solution part. So, could you describe the project or problem where you had to pull in the data to save the day, like the data superhero, without the cape or maybe with the cape is totally up to you. But what was the problem or challenge you faced before?
I mean, a very usual and habitual problem that we face, for example, when I was problem manager was to understand the impact of something going
Mm-hmm.
on. So, like you've got probably some data available, and you try to match what's going on, like people tell you is going on, and understand
Mm-hmm.
really if it's a big problem, if it's a small problem. I think that's probably one of the easiest use case because if the data is already available, then okay, you just dig into it,
Mm-hmm.
pull out some queries. I work a lot with Excel actually, with pivot tables because it's very flexible, it's
Mhm,
very fast. So when you have a data set which is not too huge and easy to
mhm,
manipulate, that's a very fast way to get insights. And I've been doing that in the very beginnings, like a long time ago,
mhm,
and and then of course as you start to manage teams and projects, you want to be able to do that, and you want to be able to like navigate the data about more and more issues that can be happening, or you want really to understand what's going on with your key aspect of your business. So then the challenge is to
mhm,
gather the data and to put it together so that you can do the job of assessing impact or opportunities sometimes, or
mhm,
measuring what's going on really.
mhm.
So yeah, that's one example. And so in yeah, well, that's the basic simple
Okay.
use
Yeah,
case.
sounds intense. Like using Excel and pivot tables. We all have been there or are right now even. So yeah, I totally understand. And what do you think was causing the problem? Like you mentioned about potential solution, but what was causing the problem before you implemented solution? Why you think like without the data the problem arise? Like what was the underlying problem with that?
Well, the problem, if you want to frame it this way, is that without data you're blind because you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
You The data is the only way that you can really understand what's going on the other side of the screen, on the other side
Mm-hmm.
of your project. So one of the challenges is to match like user experience what people tell you, because you
Mm-hmm.
want to talk to people, you want to get to hear the story, but then you need to understand if this is an anecdote, something that's happened to just
Mm-hmm.
a few guys, or if it's something impacting a lot of your users.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely critical to many processes. It can be for sales, it can be for operations. If you cannot assess the impact, then you might be working, spending a lot of energy on something that ends up not changing the game. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're able to, like see like 10 possible issues that are happening and understand which one is the one which needs immediate attention, which ones can
Mm-hmm.
wait, then it helps you prioritize. And that's the way you manage teams, actually, because you want the team to work on what's important, you want to dedicate energy on what's important, or maybe you want to like have a guess on what you want to investigate into. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, data in a tech environment, they're your eyes, basically.
And without them, you can see basically you can be very very busy, but be busy on the wrong stuff and not doing the things you should be doing. If you had the data, so you can be losing money, time, and potential opportunities because you don't have enough data. So
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
dig into. Mhm,
Yes, I want to add on that because it's
mhm,
it's something that happens a lot in startups. When you begin, you get yourself busy
mhm,
and you jump on anything that happens.
mhm. Yeah.
But then I tend to say, hey, slow down. Let's see if there's really something behind this, or is it worth the time we're spending on it? So, yeah, that's basically. And in startups, it's happening all the time because you want to get things going. You want to be fast.
Mhm.
You've got this feeling of,
Yeah.
hey, let's get going. But then if you don't have a proper data strategy, then you might go in circles because you won't address a real problem, you won't understand the real problem. And
Mhm.
yeah, maybe this gets you into product management. Well, I like to talk
Mhm.
about product management because it's an approach which is really based on listening to the people and matching it with data. And
Mhm.
the one of the key elements of product management is really like defining, well, what are your key metrics,
Mhm.
sharing it with the people that collaborate with you, and make sure that you really work on this and that you measure progress, which is also key. It's
Mhm.
it's an approach which uh, is very kind of opposite to the what we call the software factory, which is
Mhm.
what you tend to do when you learn coding. Is like, oh, you code, and you do
Mhm.
stuff, and
Mhm.
it's fun and it's nice, and but at the end of the day, you're the only one liking what you do because people who didn't, like get spend hours on it and start to use it, they won't understand, or they will have strange bugs that you didn't experience, or many things are going to happen. So what you
Mhm.
do is you define what the key metric is, like how can I see with data that my customer is happy,
Mhm.
and then you track that metrics, and you stop building more and more features and cool things,
Mhm.
but you start to think about which one of those features are going to push my metric up in the right
Mhm.
direction. And when you release, it's not over because you're going to measure that you have the impact that you thought you would have. Maybe you're going to
Mhm.
polish your feature so that it really works well and people understand it, and you work on usability or whatever gets in the way. So you will spend more time on the feature, maybe, as
Mhm.
long as you know that it's actually worth it. It's making a change on your metric. And on the other
Mhm.
hand, maybe you'll get humble if you see that bad luck. It doesn't really make a change. Then you're gonna remove this, and you're not
Mhm.
gonna have a software with like tons of features that nobody understands, nobody uses. You'll try to find a few features, do it very well, and have a
Mhm.
more minimalistic product, and that's all driven by data, actually.
Okay. So let's dig a little bit deeper. Like, let's say we have the metrics set up, and we are in the startup. We've stopped everything, and we are thinking about the metrics, and we have them right now. So how do you propose, or what is your experience on implementing them, and how
Hmm.
you would implement that, choosing the right metrics event, or tracking them from.
Yeah, choosing the right metrics. I mean, it's about talking a lot to the business, talking to the
Mm-hmm.
people, talking to your users, and yeah, be humble and say, okay, I
Mm-hmm.
want 1, 2 metrics maximum, and I'm really gonna focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course you're gonna find ways to measure it.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, yeah, that's the ideal world where you plan everything,
Mm-hmm.
and but in the real world, what happens? You find a system that works. You've got users,
Mm-hmm.
and there's many things to improve, but you don't really know
Mm-hmm.
where to start, right? And sometimes extracting data is challenging because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
technically it's difficult. You don't know where to start really. And here I think like uh, event-driven architecture are your friend, because events are pretty easy to plug
Mm-hmm.
into a system, even if it's complex, even if you don't understand everything. You can listen to what's happening, and then
Mm-hmm.
start to like define maybe a funnel, and measure things, and have information about what's going on. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you try to build things the right way, I mean, it gets too big. You never,
Mm-hmm.
you end up never doing it, because
Yeah.
this is, you're stacking things, and we're gonna rebuild this and rebuild that, and at the end of the day, yeah, you want to rebuild everything, because it's good when it's yours, when you did it,
Mm-hmm.
then you understand it and you like it. But when you get into a system that other people did, and yet there's some obscure areas that you don't really understand, and you have very limited time, maybe a relatively small team,
Mm-hmm.
you want to get value, to get information quickly and easily, as quickly and as
Mm-hmm.
easily as possible. And
Mm-hmm.
events are nice because it's something in one moment in time,
Mm-hmm.
and a set of information, and that doesn't change. This happened at that
Mm-hmm.
time, and it doesn't change. And then you can stack it and start to observe what's going on, or build logic to like extract information out of this, like timeline. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, like it's that's a strategy to get things working, which well, I tend to implement, to start getting things running, because yes, I mean, it's challenging to work on existing systems which are
Mm-hmm.
complex.
Okay, so let's say that we have like all the possibilities in the world, to track some kind of metrics in the startup, and you have, ability to go all the way. What tools would you use or recommend, to use, and how would you stack them to track metrics in best possible way? And always, and like you said, I am a big believer on setting like 1 to 2 main metrics for the topic, so we are not overwhelmed with
Mhm.
the job to do, and also not overwhelmed with the data, and we can always improve along the way. But how your ideal tool stack would look like in this situation?
There's many tools out
Mm-hmm.
there. I think. Well, I told you, yeah, like from the most basic things in the day to
Mm-hmm.
day. At the end of the day, well, any tool, any that has pivot tables will help you like move around and do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And for the rest, I mean, I've been experiencing the most exotic maybe tool I've been experiencing. We had quite a nice experience with it. Was
Mm-hmm.
Elasticsearch and Kibana,
Mm-hmm.
which was like, hey, let's try this, and it came out pretty neat, because we had like we just fed like a timeline of things happening, and
Mm-hmm.
then we set up a few reports, and we had live real time reports and data,
Mm-hmm.
and that was nice, and we could easily like organize it and put it on a dashboard, and that was a nice project. But the most uh, like usual way to go for me
Mm-hmm.
is nothing fancy. I would
Mm-hmm.
like use a SQL database, and
Mm-hmm.
structure it in a specific way, so that
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to manage.
Mm-hmm.
When I say structure it in a specific way, one of the challenges I've faced again and again is about
Mm-hmm.
data consistency. And the typical
Mm-hmm.
catastrophic scenario is like you pull out some data, you send your bills based on this data, and 5 days later you come back and the data has changed and it looks bad. And it looks really bad because internally, I mean, your system is live and things are happening.
Mhm.
And if you don't think about it beforehand, it's very easy that your metrics as a number of, I don't know what's happening this day, can
Mhm.
change over time because the status changes and so on. So if you want to have something that's stable and that stacks over time,
Mhm.
you need to build maybe a database that's incremental, where you add new
Mhm.
stuff but you don't touch what's in the past. So
Mhm.
it's a bit in the same line, like the feed that we use in Kibana. You could put it in a
Mhm.
MySQL database, and in general you want to structure your data this way. And also, yeah, uh, center it by entity. For example,
Mhm.
if what's important in your business is your users, then yeah, you'll put like the user key dates of the life cycle of your user, but you'll add new ones. You don't want to modify things, and so you want to put it together in a way that you add information, you don't remove. So then when you have
Mhm.
this structure on as a data lake or whatever,
Mhm.
um, you've got the typical like click views or whatever that gives
Mhm.
very flexible ways to share the data with the people, manage
Mhm.
rates, and I mean there's many of them. I'm not an expert on that, but I think I'll do a very good job of sharing the data and making it nice to use. Of course, you can do like ad hoc reports and dashboards, but I think it takes more
Mhm.
time with little resources. Paying a few bucks, you get very good use with those
Mhm.
tools, especially if you share it with customers, also on.
And looking back, if you were advised to someone going from some mess horror stories with vague data and then setting up in their startup or company, what one golden tip would you give them? Something like maybe always backup data or something like that, or maybe something totally different, which could be useful for them.
I would say start small.
Mm-hmm.
Start small is my advice. As I said, with product management, you've got one gold metric that's like 80% of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So find out what's the most important metric, and maybe you can rebuild this and make sure that you track the key events, three, four
Mm-hmm.
key events that are important to your business, and then start with this, and then you can grow it and get more and more information on top of that. But if the current information is a mess, then try to get out a small amount of clean data, but one that you trust and that
Mm-hmm.
you can build onto.
Okay, awesome. And now considering that the field of the data is constantly changing, like
Yes.
phone software updates. What challenge do you think is just around the corner, or maybe around two corners? Like, what do you see in the future? It could be challenging for us to do with the data.
Privacy. No, that's the most challenging things I think in the area. We tend to forget
Mhm.
about it actually because we,
Mhm.
we, we can build a lot of stuff and we can make very, very nice systems.
Mhm.
And we tend to abandon or forget about privacy, but it's I think it's the biggest challenge on the table right now from other
Mhm.
society, basically.
Mhm.
On the technical side, I mean, we have wonderful tools to gather data. We've got more and more tools to extract value from it. I did
Mhm.
a course like I think it's 5 years ago, and I was amazed by
Mhm.
all the techniques that you have, the data
Mhm.
scientists like way
Mhm.
of extracting like information from the data. And now we've got LLMs
Mhm.
which go completely crazy and enable a whole new bunch of applications.
Mhm.
Of
Okay,
course,
so. Mhm.
talking about LLMs, well, one of the big challenges is going to be like the line between lies and what's right, or information or inventions. That's
Mhm.
well, it's another one
Mhm.
which is going to be
And
tricky.
And how are you staying updated and inspired? Like, what keeps you, sharp, inspired, and apart from, steady probably stream of coffee or tea or whatever you drink. So, aside from that.
I mean, day-to-day challenges actually put you quite on the spot. I mean, it's a step back from all the hype and the
Mm-hmm.
things, but it's also very interesting because what you do really and what where you get the value is very simple. What you need
Mm-hmm.
to start and get like the first 80% is very simple, very but so practice is key for that. Of course, I listen to what's going on and
Mm-hmm.
I play along with tools and I do a few courses here and there. Uh, but I think it's key to resist the temptation also to like to jump and try to
Mm-hmm.
understand everything about the last hype.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, you can do a lot with, I mean, like keeping your house in order and putting the stuff in place. That gives already a lot. And then, of course,
Mm-hmm.
that's preparing for the next step because if you want to have good results with AI, you need data, you need good data, you need clean data,
Mm-hmm.
you need information because data is not information. If your data is a bit messy, you've got inconsistency and so on, it's going to be very difficult to use it for AI, or it's going to make it more difficult. So
Mm-hmm.
also having your stuff organized is a way to be ready for the next step. And
Mm-hmm.
then if you've got good data, then you can find experts and also like learn
Mm-hmm.
as you and grow with them as you get them in the team.
And speaking about AI, like we live in AI-driven world. Sometimes I'm thinking about that. I'm curious, what prompts or AI approaches you are using in your day-to-day work? Like, what AI approach helps you in your?
AI is very important on a strategic level. Like when
Mm-hmm.
I talk about the vision, what we want to do,
Mm-hmm.
it's really, I think it's a bit the graal. If you really do things well, you will be able to enable AI and do incredible things. On a day to day, I was actually surprised because when I had more free time or looking for a job, I spent quite some times,
Mm-hmm.
like investigating the APIs of LLMs
Mm-hmm.
and seeing how you could put things together. I was
Mm-hmm.
using ChatGPT quite a lot to
Mm-hmm.
explore what you can do with it and so on. But then on a day to day, my job is more about like getting people to, align and work together,
Mm-hmm.
understand what we expect from them. And my use of AI reduced a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the chat gpt reduced a lot
Mm-hmm.
and but still it's very nice for I mean for programming, but the syntax part of
Mm-hmm.
programming when you like maybe I don't code like this often, so it
Mm-hmm.
helps me get quicker and like remember all the tips and tricks, all
Mm-hmm.
the details of how to put something together or how to find a bug and so on. And that's neat and easy, and it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it works well. But I don't have fancy prompts really that I put
Mm-hmm.
together on a day to day. Maybe I'll get back to it at some point, but right now it's more, like keeping the things in order and making sure everybody understands what role they play and making the pieces fit together. And AI cannot
Awesome.
help me much with that
Yeah, so our jobs are safe
for now.
for now, for now, for now, and with this optimistic way, look out at the world which will be happening in the probably few months or years. Thank you for meeting with me today and answering my questions and being a part of the DDM.fm podcast.
Thank you, Lucas. It's been a pleasure to talk with you.